All right, well, here we are at the Thursday, June 10th, 2021 regular council meeting. Welcome all. Take it away.
I, Margot G.K., the town clerk of the town of Morristown, do hereby state that it is 7:30 p.m. on Thursday, June 10th, 2021, and that this meeting is being held remotely via webinar. Both adequate and electronic notice of this meeting were provided according to law by written notice to the Morristown Daily Record, the official newspaper of the town of Morristown, and to the Newark Star Ledger, both more than 48 hours ago. Notice was also posted in Town Hall and on the town website and filed with the office of the town clerk of the town of Morristown. I do further state that I shall enter into the minutes of this meeting a statement that such notice was furnished as particularly described by me in this announcement. Roll call. Councilwoman Cotton.
Present.
Councilman Elms.
Present.
Councilwoman Foster, has she joined? Okay. Councilman Iannaccone.
Here.
Councilwoman Mayer.
Here.
Councilman Silva.
Present.
Council President Armington.
Here.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll move into a moment of silence. Followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to
The flag
of the
of the United States of America,
to the
to the republic
for
for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, please be aware that public comment during the public hearing portions of this meeting will be moderated through the Zoom app. At the appropriate time, members of the public wishing to speak should indicate so by raising his or her hand in the app. You will find the raise your hand icon at the bottom left side of your screen. You may also raise your hand by pressing *9 on your phone. When it is your turn, the moderator will send a signal through the app and ask that you unmute yourself so that you may be heard. To unmute yourself on the phone, press *6. There are 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. Unless a member of council would like to pull them for separate consideration, I would ask for a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I will be voting only on number 1 since I was absent on May 25th.
And just before we move into this, I want to recognize Council Vice President Toshiba Foster has joined the meeting.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Toshiba. Hi, Toshiba.
So I'll make a motion to adopt
The consent agenda?
May 11th consent minutes, and then we'll, since David Silva can.
Okay.
I'll second.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilman Elms.
Yes.
Councilman Foster.
Yes.
Councilman Iannaccone.
Yes.
Councilman Mayer.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
And a motion to approve items number 2 and 3 of
I'll
the.
make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes. Yes. Sorry about that.
Councilman Elms.
Yes.
Councilman Foster.
Yes.
Councilman Iannaccone.
Yes.
Councilman Mayer.
Yes.
Councilman Silva is abstaining. Council President Armington.
Yes.
Thank you. At this time, I will open up the floor for a public hearing on the 2021 municipal budget. Again, please raise your hand in the Zoom app to indicate you would like to speak. If you joined the meeting via telephone, press *9. Kindly state your name and address and limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. Be advised that any derogatory comments targeting members of council and/or administration may be ruled out of order. No comments.
Margot, the last sentence got blocked out. I'm not sure what happened.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said, please be advised that any derogatory comments targeting members of council will be ruled out of order, and no comments were received via email.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Now we're open the public hearing on the municipal budget.
Council President, I don't see any hands raised for public hearing.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing on the 2021 municipal budget and open up the public hearing for any other items not otherwise on the agenda.
Excuse me. Council President, the first public speaker is Kathleen Hemmer. Ms. Hemmer, because you have an older form of Zoom, to allow you to speak, it will promote you to a panelist. I ask that you please turn off your camera. Okay. All right, Ms. Hemmer, if you'd please state your name and address to the record, please. Ms. Hemmer? Ms. Hemmer, you may make your public comment. Ms. Hemmer, can you hear me? Okay, so what I'd like to do is remove Ms. Hemmer as a speaker, and if she would like to speak, she can please re-raise her hand. The next public speaker is Kristen Ace. Kristen, if you please unmute yourself and state your name and address to the record, please.
Yes, hi everybody. I am Kristen Ace. I live at 24 Franklin Street. I'm the chair of the Shade Tree Commission and I'm representing the Shade Tree Commission tonight. I wanted to ask you all to consider passing the resolution R90/2021 that's on your agenda tonight. It's a way to counter legislation that's being forced through at the state level, which would require 50,000 trees to be clear cut and 50,000 trees to be burned in our forested areas every year without science or understanding if it was a necessary cutting. And the Shade Tree is very concerned about this, as many commissions and tree advocates throughout the state are. And our New Jersey tree expert, Rich Wallowitz, also agrees that this is not the way to manage our forests in New Jersey. So I just wanted to come tonight and ask for your support.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Council President, I don't see any other hands raised. Ms. Hemmer, if you'd like to speak, would you raise your hand at this time? Council President, I don't see any hands raised any more hands raised for public.
We'll close the public hearing. Just a note: is that an ear a cat ear in the side of your?
It is a cat ear. I have company attending the meeting with me.
Fantastic. All right, so we'll close the public hearing. I think we can essentially pass on the council responses to public hearing comments, given that Kristen Ace's comments were in regard to the resolution, which is on the agenda, and we can discuss that at the time if council wishes to discuss it. I know the mayor is out camping, but let's open up for the report of the mayor and town officials.
Yes, the mayor sends his regrets. He is up in upstate New York and his reception's not good. So he's not able to join tonight. I do have two events to share on his behalf. The first is the rabies clinic, which is this Saturday, June 12th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Town Hall. We are very excited. We weren't able to have a clinic last year, so we certainly encourage any and everyone to bring their pets to Town Hall for our free rabies clinic. The other event we have coming up is next Wednesday, June 16th from 10 to 7. The town has partnered with Atlantic Health to provide a free vaccine clinic for COVID-19. They're offering both the J&J one-shot vaccine as well as the Pfizer vaccine for anyone 12 and over. And the J&J vaccine is 18 and over. Again, that's Wednesday, June 16th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. in the Town Hall parking lot behind 200 South Street. And we encourage anyone who has not yet been vaccinated for COVID-19 to come join us and get vaccinated. That's all I have for the mayor's report, Councilman.
Thank you, Jillian. Moving on to, what do we got? We get presentations and reports. Presentation by the Morristown Rotary on the proposed pavilion at Lidgewood Park.
Yes, for the Rotary, we have Harvey Gilbert and Charlie Iliano. If you'll both turn on your cameras and introduce yourselves, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Harvey Gilbert. I'm with the Morristown Rotary Club, and it's my privilege tonight to be joined by Charlie Giuliano, who's also with the Morristown Rotary Club. And we are here for the purpose of presenting to the town a gift to Morristown. Thank you, Jillian, for sharing screens for me. I appreciate your assistance. I'm technologically challenged, and Jillian has agreed to take my slides and present them to you.
Sure.
The purpose of the Morristown Rotary's gift to Morristown this year is to commemorate 100 years of Morristown Rotary service to the town. We were formed in May of 1922, and we hope to have another 100 years of continued service to the town. We are looking to establish a structure in town which would assist those who need a structure for a variety of different events. We'd like to remind people that the Morristown Rotary Club is there looking to provide service, as is our motto, service above self. We hope to have people encounter that motto on occasion and give it some thought. It's nourishing and beneficial to those who put themselves in that position, as well as a benefit to the community. We thank the Morristown community for its support of our efforts in the past, and we are looking to have as a commemorative of our service to the town, the establishment of a gazebo or pavilion in the Lidgewood Park area. If Jillian will give me the next slide. The gazebo that we have identified as worthy is a metal structure, 32 feet in diameter. It appears to be a low maintenance item, durable and accessible from all sides. It's on grade, so there won't be any step up or steps to encounter. It will be installed right on the surface so that people can easily find shelter in inclement weather or sunshine. We'll look to adorn the structure with 6 signs around the perimeter. It's a hexagonal structure, so we'll look to have those signs identify the main areas of Morristown Rotary's efforts: youth, health, veterans, culture, education, and hunger. Most all of our efforts fall within one of those 6 categories. It will also have a rotary wheel fashioned on the roof. The donation we anticipate making to the town for the purpose of the construction of this structure is a $90,000 donation to Morristown, which will amply address the materials and the installation cost, the signage, and there will be an area around the base of the structure for later acquisition of bricks with names of donors who will contribute to Morristown Rotary. We hope to recover some, perhaps all, of our donation in that fashion. The next slide is a photograph of really a version of the gazebo that we are looking to acquire. This particular photograph shows railings. We are not going to acquire a gazebo with railings. We're going to leave it open so that it's accessible from all sides. The photograph shows signage, which I believe is not entirely accurate. Those signs are slightly larger than what we have dimensioned in our specifications. There's a little bit of license taken in presenting those signs. But the idea is that we will have youth, health, veteran, culture, education, and hunger around the sides of the gazebo to remind people of our efforts. We hope to have, with the town's approval and the town's assistance in construction, the gazebo completed by April of next year. There's a town Easter egg hunt that we would like to host from this structure at that time. And certainly May of next year is our 100th birthday party. On May 22, 2022, Morristown Rotary will be 100 years old. And we're hoping to have a celebration of some sort at the structure and elsewhere in town to have a party. And that's the extent of our effort. If there are any questions, I'll answer them, or if there are specific technical questions, Charlie Giuliano, who is with me from Rotary, is capable of providing specifics regarding the technical aspect of the structure. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey.
I think that deserves a virtual clap. I mean, that's great.
Thank you to the
Thank
Rotary.
you.
Sorry, thank you.
So in case you guys are wondering where it's going to go, there's a little, Jillian, you want to explain the pump house thing?
Sure. If you're familiar with Lidgerwood Park, between, I guess, just short of the playground, there's the old pump house. There used to be kind of a pool. And there's an old pump house that's still there that some of the kids like to hang out on the roof. So the intent is that the town will demolish that pump house and clear that area, and that's where the pavilion will go. And I think it will be a welcomed amenity. And it does not, because it's in between the fields, it will not interfere with any of the existing athletic programs that are already played in the park. Should be great.
Great.
Harvey, this looks great. Thank you. It's a beautiful structure. It'll be a wonderful addition to the park.
Thank you, Michael.
Any other questions?
All right. So thank you very much. And now we'll move on to, is there a presentation or report on the bond anticipation note certificate?
That's just for information purposes.
That's
Chairman, we're going to leave the meeting now. Is that all right?
Yes,
Sure, thank you.
absolutely.
Hey, Michael, was this the pump house that you were concerned about?
No, there's another pump house located on Overlook Road,
Okay, got it.
separate.
Thank you. I'll have to find another gazebo for that one. All right. Moving on to council liaison reports.
Like, I'll get started. The Morristown Partnership, actually on the agenda tonight, we have the Morristown Partnerships budget for fiscal year 21. It's a $1.2 million budget, but you have to give a lot of credit. The partnership really was there for the community throughout COVID. And, they're right back in business. The budget that we have before us this evening actually is very similar to the pre-COVID times, to the extent that it has the events are back, all the support that they give to the local businesses in terms of promotion is back. A lot of hard work on the staff's part, a lot of hard work on the board's part, and a lot of hard work, I think, stabilizing the businesses here in town on part of the businesses themselves. And to be able to present a budget that basically mimics the budget to pre-COVID times is really quite a success in itself. Aside from that, the budget, farmers market is back starting on Sunday, June 20th. It's 8:30 to 1 o'clock. There's 17 new vendors this year. It's a lot of fun. I think it's great that the farmers market is back. Encourage everybody to come on down. Some of the developments at the partnership from their last meeting is they have returned to in-person meetings. They're working with us on the cannabis committee, which is welcomed because we do need the input of the businesses for that committee. They're working with the parking authority to promote the launch of the pay-by-phone parking app. The Summer in Morristown section is going to be in the Star Ledger on June 19th. Keep an eye out for it. It promotes a lot of the happenings and a lot of the businesses here in Morristown. It's the kind of piece you want to pull out of that newspaper and keep on your coffee table for the summer. Finally, the new downtown guide is coming out this summer, and it's going to be at all of our promotional events, and it's also available at the request to the partnership itself. Stefan, that's it.
Thanks, Bob. I also want to just note that in reading the partnership budget, they do a really great job of explaining all the things that they've done over the past year and all their accomplishments, and that was one of the requests that I know I had made at the last meeting.
Well, Jen's going to be here at the next meeting.
Okay.
And that's why I kind of held off on that. And I'm going to also ask Jen, when she does come back, I think she did also a real nice summary on all of her and her team's efforts in supporting the businesses during COVID. And I will tell you in advance, I think Jen and her team need some recognition for what they did for the downtown during the COVID period.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone else? No? All right, then we will move on to regular business.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute.
Oh,
I was going to give a report for MPA. So they meet on the 15th, but the pay by phone is up and running. They've received a lot of positive responses. They've been seeing more activity on the street and a little bit of more activity in the garages since the pandemic started.
Is that a Park Authority app or how do you access the pay by phone?
You have to download the app.
Yeah.
You have to download the app.
The app is actually called Pay by Phone.
Pay by phone. Okay, great.
I have a couple things from MHA.
Great.
Last year, they pilot an initiative, administration and the commission, to beautify the exteriors of the properties. Last year, they worked on Maynahan Village. This year, they have concentrated on the senior buildings. They have a great initiative where they ask the seniors to participate, and they purchased some flowers and shrubs, and they happily participated. Also, they restored some benches. So I think that's a very positive action to help not only beautify the buildings, but also to make the seniors active. The second thing is on RAD. It's an update on RAD. The commission approved the RFP RAD relocation. And these are important news for all the residents of MHA because this will give them peace of mind when renovation takes place, because they will either be put into a vacant apartment, or if necessary, they will put in a hotel from the period of 3 to 5 days. That is the calculation for the restoration of each apartment. Lastly, the MHA has offered a total of 7 dates and times for meetings with the residents of Maynahan Village, and the attendance has been very low. It is important somehow, if there is some public at the meeting, or maybe somebody who has influence at Maynahan Village, to encourage residents to attend the meetings. Director Kinnard is offering meetings and forum during the rest of the summer and the year, and they have to sign up for these meetings so they can have all the information, and all the questions that people have will be answered. And I consider this important because last Sunday we were at the senior building, and some of the seniors were asking me a lot of questions about how they were going to be relocated, how long was the renovation of each apartment. Even though 70% of the seniors attended the meetings that were offered to them. That's all from me, Mr. President.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I just want to commend the Housing Authority. My wife and I were working at the Early Street Garden, and really liked all the work done at the 3139 Early Street. The benches look fantastic, and all the annuals are gorgeous as well. So really great job on that. Okay, moving on to regular business.
Okay, there are 4 ordinances for introduction tonight. Ordinance number O-12-2021, an ordinance rescinding ordinance 01-2021 and deleting a designated handicap parking space on Mount Airy Place from section 7-40.2 of the code of the town of Morristown.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number O-12-2021.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? On the introduction of O-12-2021, Councilman Cotton,
Yes.
Councilman Elms,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster,
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Silva,
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Ordinance O-12-2021 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further after a public hearing on June 22nd. Ordinance O-13-2021, an ordinance of the town of Morristown and the county of Morris, state of New Jersey, for compensation for elected, excuse me, compensation for the elected mayor, town council members, and council president in the town of Morristown, New Jersey, and amending all ordinances concerning such compensation heretofore adopted.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number O-13-2021.
I'll second.
Comments or questions?
I would just note that this year, as with prior years, there's no change in the compensation for the mayor or council members or myself.
On the introduction of ordinance O-13-2021, Councilwoman Cotton,
Yes.
Councilman Elms,
Yes.
Councilman Foster,
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Silva,
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Ordinance O-13-2021 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further after public hearing on June 22nd. Ordinance O-14-2021, an ordinance of the town of Morristown and the county of Morris, state of New Jersey, for compensation for management/non-union positions in the town of Morristown, New Jersey, and amending all ordinances concerning such compensation heretofore adopted.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number O-14-2021.
I'll second.
Comments or questions?
Jillian,
Jillian, I got one question, Jillian. Jillian, what benchmarks do we use to establish the range? Is it something that comes from the state? How are those benchmarks actually established, the ranges?
Most of the ranges really don't get adjusted very much from year to year. A majority of the ranges that are in place were adjusted this year simply by a COLA adjustment of 1.75%, which is what we anticipate our civilian increases to be. In case where we have changes in personnel or some other reason to make a different adjustment, we'll evaluate that salary range at that time. But if there's an incumbent in that position, typically the salary ranges are simply adjusted based on COLA.
From time to time, do you think it's advisable to do a benchmarking on the ranges to make sure that they're staying competitive with market and or remain basically at certain percentile of the market?
We do that in certain cases when it's warranted, particularly if there's a change in personnel, like if there's an anticipated retirement or vacancy, or if there's some other reason, like some of the department head positions, for example, where we want to make sure that our salaries are competitive. So we do, from time to time, do an analysis and make an adjustment accordingly.
Okay, thank you, Joan.
I believe as an example of that, the deputy clerk retired, and so we got a new staff member from somewhere else in the town, and so that rate went down accordingly.
Correct.
All right, if there's no other comments or questions, call the question.
On the introduction of 014-2021, Councilwoman Cotton,
Yes.
Councilman Elms,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster,
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mayer,
Yes.
Councilman Silva,
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Ordinance 14-2021 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further after public hearing on June 22nd. Ordinance 0-15-2021, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 3 noise of the Code of the Town of Morris.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number 015-2021.
I'll second.
On this ordinance, I did note that this is the model noise ordinance established by the state, and the way the state deals with this. If you adopt the model noise ordinance with no changes, you essentially have to you can adopt it and then forward it on to the state for their approval. If you make any changes, the state wants to approve it before final adoption. In the case of the model noise ordinance, it establishes restrictions for commercial and property owners from using motorized landscaping equipment Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. But it does not. Okay, and for commercial businesses, it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then also 6 p.m. to 9 a.m. It does not address the town's current policy, which restricts use of motorized landscaping equipment by property owners or their tenants from 6 p.m. to 9 a.m. So I spoke to representatives of New Jersey DEP this afternoon, and they advised that we could modify the ordinance and essentially submit it to them. They advised that it would take a week or two to review and provide the acceptance letter. So I would call for a motion to, I'd make a motion to amend the ordinance to add language in section 3-1.9, which is restricted uses and activities, section A, to add, right now it says excluding emergency work, power tools, home maintenance tools, landscaping and or yard maintenance equipment used by a residential property owner or tenant shall not be operated between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. on weekdays. And I want to amend that to add and between the hours of 6 p.m. and 9 a.m. on weekends. And that would reflect the existing noise code that we have. And then I would propose that once it is introduced, we would submit it to the state for their review and their approval letter. And then once we receive that approval letter, we would adopt it.
I'll second the motion to amendment.
Johnny McDonald has that language already prepared, so you can reach out to her for that language.
Can one of you explain table 3? Because I don't understand what this table means.
Table 3.
Briefly. Maximum permissible octave band, sound pressure levels in decibels. At the
All right.
bottom, it's time, 31.5, 96, 86, 80. What's the time mean?
So this is basically so the noise meter that trained officers will use to monitor noise levels. The output of that meter will be in decibels, but also in the frequency octave band. So a low frequency noise is like the rumbling of a truck going over a overpass. High frequency is like a scream. So the state, in addition to just straight up decibel levels, they define impacts using both decibel levels and octave band frequency. And that's all I really understand about the octave band frequency.
Does anybody else not understand this, or am I the only one?
Actually, I think the thing to understand, Sandy, is that it is a model ordinance that is modeled for any municipality that adopts this, and it's pretty standard amongst the industry. I think the second point on this is that, in Stefan's conversations and Joni's conversations with the DEP, they are willing to make the amendment to incorporate our specific ordinance, which is the mechanical landscape and mechanical equipment ordinance in terms of the hours of operation. What this ordinance really does is actually takes the state regulations on noise levels and allows us to have an enforcement mechanism. So I think the focus here, and we've been talking about this on and off for a while, and the administration is supportive of it because they've come to the realization that it is important that we build the capability of doing enforcement. So what this ordinance really does is it gives us a vehicle of enforcement of sound violations.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I'm all for this. I like the fact that, well, I'm not sure who the noise control officer and investigator is going to be, but that could be worked out later. I like the fact that it's addressing, I've been getting a lot of complaints about the gas-powered leaf blower, so this sort of works that in time-wise. I like the fact that the snow removal is sort of exempt. I just feel that I'm being asked to sign off on something. I don't know what this table represents. And I don't know how important it is to saying yes or no, or it doesn't really, or this is just a diagram of how noise is and it really doesn't pertain to what we're trying to do. And if that's the case, I don't have a problem with not understanding it, but that's what I need to know. Is this a chart that I should know before I vote yes or no on, or is it just the way they measure things?
It's an output.
Am I asking too many questions? Sorry.
No, it's an output of the noise meter, and the state has defined what is healthy and what is not healthy, and that's based on decibel levels, but it's also based on the frequency. And so as opposed to just decibels, whereas a train rolling by is 95 decibels. A train on wheels, if you're ever next to a curve on a track, you hear this high pitched screaming sort of. That's wheels. That's a high pitched, high frequency sound, which is from a health perspective. A shorter amount of time at that high frequency is permitted from a health perspective. But I think as far as the implementation goes, what we are supporting is the establishment of the program and the ability of the administration to train I'm assuming police officers or whoever to be noise control officers, and that requires annual certification in the use of the noise meter, and then I think we're also empowering non-meter certified officers to be able to enforce essentially what we do now, which is evaluate excessive noise, but they can't use the noise meter and they can't certify that the noise levels that were in excess of the state standards.
I have a question on that, where it's concerning enforcement officers, and where it says B, where you were just talking about them not needing, that they do not require the use of a sound level meter, for playing the audible times of day and or distance determinations and pursue enforcement activities. So I think you were kind of explaining that, but I just needed clarity on that. Like, how are they gauging it?
So there's the noise control officers, and those are the staff that has the training in the use of the meters, and then there's what are the other people? Enforcement officers.
It's noise control investigators and noise control officers.
Right. So noise control investigators essentially can. They can use their judgment to say that a level of noise is too loud, but they cannot essentially prove that with a noise meter. So they can support the noise control officers, and the noise control investigators are not certified, but without the noise control officers, which are certified to use the meters, I think the argument is that the courts would prefer sound level meters data to prove that something is actually in excess of the standards.
Yeah, that's what.
Tawana, to put it a different, another way of stating it is, you may not have been in council when this started in the discussion, and a couple of points on this is, one, the reason for the ordinance is also to add the objectivity. Right now, the concept of what the sound is really left to the police to judge, as opposed to actual measurements with science behind it and objectivity behind it. And I think that's where your question was going.
Yes.
The purpose of this is actually to create objectivity, rather than having neighbors having a complaint with each other, or somebody installing a piece of mechanical equipment that's constantly making noise next door. It's a way of having an objective means of not just enforcement, but also measurement and objective communication to prevent arguments between the parties. The other aspect, I think, of your question, and it goes back to Sandy's question, is the standards that are built into this ordinance are already the standards that are already developed as law within the DEP. And what Sandy was referring to is like pitch the elements of sound and what they have to measure the various elements of sound. And then I think the third point that you guys are bringing up, which are all good points. The third point is that about enforcement. You know, one of the concerns that Jillian had raised and wanted time to investigate before introducing this ordinance was what was going to be the level of investment in terms of equipment to basically measure the sound, which we got, and it's de minimis, and also the time and the commitment that we would require from our police for training and certification. So it's not just anybody showing up and doing the measurement. It's going to be the measurements done by professionals or those holding certifications.
We're going to have 1 meter and more than one officer will be trained on it?
All right, we'll have to purchase 2 meters and we'll be training multiple officers. The training courses are offered by Rutgers periodically. I don't know if there's another course scheduled. I'm not sure when the next course is scheduled, but it will take a little bit of time to implement, but we will acquire both meters and have the officers trained.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no further questions, Margot, why don't you call the question?
Council President, just a quick question. Since this ordinance will be going to the DEP and we'll be awaiting an approval letter, would you like to schedule the public hearing for this on July 13th rather than June 22nd?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay. So on the introduction of O-15-2021 as amended, Councilwoman Cotton?
So we're voting to amend it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Iannaccone?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Council President Armington?
Yes.
Ordinance O-15-2021 as amended has been introduced properly and will be considered further after a public hearing on July 13th. There are 2 ordinances for public hearing and adoption. Ordinance number O-7-2021, an ordinance of the town of Morristown and the county of Morris, New Jersey, prohibiting the operation of any class of cannabis businesses within its geographical boundaries.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance O-7-2021.
A second.
I will now open the floor for a public hearing on ordinance O-7-2021 only.
I don't see any hands raised for public comment.
We'll close the public hearing on O-7-2021. I would just like to note that over the last month, we've had 2 really good cannabis committee meetings, and we're hoping to be able to, I think we're proposing to have another one the end of this month, and hoping to be able to provide the council and administration with an ordinance in July. So,
Any other comments or questions from council? On the adoption of ordinance O-7-2021, Councilwoman Cotton?
Yes.
Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Iannaccone?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Council President Armington?
yes.
Ordinance O-7-2021 is adopted. Ordinance number O-11-2021, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the town of Morristown and the county of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $4,398,930 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $4,178,930 in bonds or notes of the town to finance part of the cost thereof.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance number O-11-2021.
A second.
I will open the floor for public hearing on ordinance O-11-2021 only.
Councilman, I don't see any hands raised for public comment.
Close the public hearing.
Comments or questions from council? On the adoption of ordinance O-11-2021, Councilwoman Cotton,
Yes.
Councilman Elms,
Yes.
Councilman Foster,
Yes.
Councilman Anacone,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes,
Councilman Silva,
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Ordinance 11-2021 is adopted. There are 10 resolutions on the agenda for adoption this evening. Are there any that members of council would like to pull for separate consideration?
Stefan, can we pull 88, 94, and 95?
Sure.
And I want to pull out 87.
Then I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolutions R86, R89 through 93.
I'll second.
Okay, on the adoption of those resolutions, Councilwoman Cotton,
Yes.
Councilman Elms,
Yes.
Councilman Foster,
Yes.
Councilman Anacone,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
yes,
Councilman Silva,
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Resolutions are adopted. Resolution number R-87-2021, resolution awarding bid to Ralph Checchio Inc. for the Harrison Street Playground improvements.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution R87, 2021.
I'll second.
Councilman?
Yes. First, I just want to commend administration for the work that it is doing on parks and open spaces. I had conversations with the people at Harrison Street, and they were very concerned about the renovation of this playground on the thought that there is limited parking on the street, and also that playground won't have bathrooms. I don't think they are necessary. But what they don't want is to attract big crowds to the neighborhood to do some sports or things in a massive way, because it will create big problem in the neighborhood. Yesterday I spoke with Jillian, and I asked her that as this playground will be renovated, there are we need to have some proper rules there that will protect the neighborhood, but at the same time will make the place enjoyable. And I know she agreed, but I just want to make this public because maybe some of the neighbors are present at the meeting right now, and they asked me to advocate for them on this end. So I think that this is something reasonable. That's
Thank you,
my
David.
point.
I'd also like to say that last year, before when the administration was proposing to go after the grant application, I had reached out to some of the neighbors and spoke to them about whether or not they wanted a basketball court or this bowl paved field, whatever we're calling it.
Futsal.
Futsal, and they seem to be adamant that they did not want a basketball court or tennis court, which would attract people from outside of the neighborhood. They felt that the futsal court would be highly used by the kids from the neighborhood. So I appreciate the work that the administration is doing for this. But I do commend David Silva on his points and understand that it's always a significant risk and effort that needs to be taken into consideration. All right.
I'm sorry. I have a comment for that. While I do understand you don't want it to be, the residents may not want large crowds congregating there. I mean, how do you stop residents of the town from going to visit this park? You know, I mean, you can't do that. Honestly, that's like the kept secret in this town, that Harrison Park. There's not a lot of, but it's also not a lot to do there. So while I do understand, it's just like it almost sends the wrong message, like where certain parks can be exclusively for residents on a certain street.
Well, this is not really a park. If you have visited, it's a small playground. Okay. Not only that, it's a dead-end street. And many of the houses on that neighborhood don't even have a driveway. So what they are asking is reasonable. And when we talk big crowds is, let's make an example. A soccer tournament, no good. A basketball tournament, that's no good. So we're not saying, oh, we're going to forbid. No, whoever wants to bring their little children, because actually it's for small children.
Yeah, I live
it's a
on
beautiful
Branch Street.
corner.
Yeah.
So I think what they are asking is reasonable and is proper.
Yeah, I think the improvements that are planned there really is beautifying the existing facility. It's
Okay.
not expanding it. And certainly that park is very, very small. It's, you know, we would kind of call it a pocket park, like many of the other pocket parks in other neighborhoods. And I don't think, you know, if we were expanding the usage or making, you know, some sort of major additions, then I think it may attract the crowds that the neighborhood is concerned about. But given that it will remain a small pocket park, I think it will be an amenity for that immediate neighborhood and shouldn't generate crowds. The other thing too to point out is that futsal, you know, this will be the second futsal court. There's actually a futsal court that's almost completed at Granby, which is more of a sort of regional park, for lack of a better word, that has parking. You know, that's more of an attraction for larger events. So, you know, I think if there's going to be sort of a large futsal kind of event, Granby would be, you know, the most attractive place for that.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, Councilman Silva, I certainly heard you when you mentioned this yesterday, you know, and we'll make sure that when the park is complete, you know, that the park rules are posted and that it's monitored and enforced as well.
A question?
Excuse me. On the adoption of resolution 87-2021, Councilwoman Cotton,
Yes.
Councilman Elms,
Yes.
Councilman Foster,
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Silva,
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution number R-88-2021, resolution adopting the 2021 municipal budget.
Make a motion to adopt resolution R88.
I'll second.
Councilman?
Yes, you know, again, you know, Jillian, I think administration did a great job with this budget. Just one thing I think that did not come out in the presentation, and I've received several questions about it, but you also did a very nice job on page 27 and 28 of your summary, where you basically did the projection over the 3 years, which I'm very glad to see. Now we're making it a permanent part of the budget presentation, which I think is great. Could you just briefly go over what we expect to see in terms of basically fund balance, and if any tax increases should be anticipated? I think we've done a great job over the years of keeping costs under control and also keeping our tax rate almost zero. But I think we're anticipating some tax increases, and I think it's important, especially now that we're starting to enter into some era that may be a prolonged inflationary time. But could you comment on that?
Sure. Yeah, as part of the budget process, we also look at multi-year projections to understand how this budget will impact future years, as well as to anticipate any kind of operational or financial changes that may need to happen in the future. But certainly, it's still a projection, and that projection is without corrective action, as we kind of say when I was in the consulting world. So that means kind of without other further interventions, just so that we know what we need to look for in the future. That being said, with the revenue rebound, as we expect to happen over the next 2 or 3 years, some new revenue sources we expect to come on board in the next few years, and some anticipated attrition that we expect to take advantage of. We do think that we can bring the use of fund balance back down to our normal levels of about $3 million, which we can replenish fairly easily on a year-to-year basis, with modest if minimal tax increases. We've been able to keep tax increases between 0 and 2% over the last 10 years. Many of those years have been 0. We do not anticipate anything beyond that in any of the future years, and certainly we will do our best to keep any kind of tax increase in the future as close to 0 as possible. And certainly, if all the stars align and we can have another 0 tax increase, we certainly will. Bless the taxpayers with that in the future if we can. Certainly there's concern with rebound with COVID. There's some uncertainty with their revenues and how quickly they will rebound. But now that the state's restrictions have been lifted and we're starting to see restaurants and patrons come back, the theaters reopening in the fall. The Hyatt Regency, which has been closed for several months, expects to reopen later this year as well. So that bodes well for coming back into some more normal financial times, and so we're definitely encouraged for the future.
Thanks, Jillian. Again, good job on the budget. I'm glad we have you and Frank.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate that.
Yes, I want to also commend Jillian and Frank for the budget. Yesterday we have a very good, deep conversation on the budget, and I was very satisfied with everything that we spoke, and we spoke also about projection for the future, especially the post-COVID, and I think that we're in a good shape, and we will continue supporting this administration.
Thank you, Councilman.
On the adoption of Resolution R-88-2021, Councilwoman Cotton,
Yes.
Councilman Elms,
Yes.
Councilman Foster,
Yes.
Councilman Anacone,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Silva,
Yes.
Council President Armington. President?
You're mute. You're still mute.
Yep, there you go. Yes.
You almost made me nervous there for a minute, Councilman.
All right.
Was this your first Zoom meeting?
I've got a terrible cough, and I'm trying not to save you guys from it. So.
Oh, that's so polite.
Okay, Resolution R-94-2021, resolution of the Town of Morristown authorizing the preparation of a study to determine if the property owned by the County of Morris and shown on the tax maps of the town is Block 5905, Lot 5, and parts of Block 5905, Lot 6 and 7 qualify as an area in need of rehabilitation in accordance with NJSA 40A:12A-14.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution R-94-2021.
I'll second.
Councilman?
Yes, my question is actually one question for both Resolution 94 and Resolution 95. I understand what we're doing here. We're basically determining that the property, the courthouse property, and the surrounding properties around the courthouse are areas in need of rehabilitation so that they can basically do the improvements for the new courthouse on that property. I also understand that the second resolution, number 95, is basically the resolution which is going to allow us to recoup our costs and receive the necessary indemnification for that development. My question actually is, at what stage, and I asked this question before and it was answered before, but I just get a little wary because I see the term redevelopment agreement in the second paragraph, in the second resolution 95 on redevelopment. But at what stage does the town have the ability to memorialize any of the off-site improvements caused by or impacted by the development of the courthouse? Is there a subsequent developers agreement? Maybe Joni or Reach knows this. Is there a subsequent developers agreement that memorializes that? Because I also understand that when they come back to the planning board, it's really for consulting. It's the planning board, though there's a presentation, though they're able to comment, there's really no ability as a matter of law for them to enforce changes on the plans and or necessary, recommend or require necessary off-site improvements. That being said, at what stage is that being memorialized? Because what I don't want to do is for the town to lose its opportunity to have one input, but input that is one where we are discussing the financial impacts on the town in terms of the necessary improvements and maybe what we're going to be doing to mitigate any adverse impact the courthouse might have, the improvements to the courthouse might have, i.e. traffic lights, traffic and the like. Joni, maybe?
My understanding is, I think that there will be a redevelopment agreement once the designation happens, once the property is determined to be in need of rehabilitation. That's the point of the study. It's going to go to the planning board to conduct the study. Once they make the conclusion, it comes back to the council. And then at that time, there'll be a redevelopment agreement where you can deal with those issues.
So Joni, will there be a redevelopment plan like we have with other properties similar to this? And we're going to have to approve the redevelopment plan?
The plan, yes, the plan has to be developed, Councilman, and the plan will be developed by our professionals.
And then our professionals, if there is costs, offsite costs associated with the redevelopment of the courthouse, that'll be discussion incorporated into the approved redevelopment plan?
That is correct. The county, as the agreement in 95 says, the county has agreed to make all offsite improvements that would be necessary. So if the town study and the plan shows that this is what's needed, the county has to do it.
Great. Thank you, Veach.
Sure.
Thank you, Joni.
Any other questions? Sorry, if no other questions, call the question.
Councilman Iannaccone, would you like to amend that to consider 94 and 95 together?
Yes.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Okay, on the adoption of resolutions 94 and 95, 2021, Councilwoman Cotton,
Yes.
Councilman Elms,
Yes.
Councilman,
Yes.
Councilman Iannaccone,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Silva,
Yes.
Council President Armington.
Yes.
Resolutions are adopted.
All right, that completes the regular business. There's no unfinished old business. There's no new business. Does any council members?
Councilman, I actually got a text from Kathleen Hemmer during this meeting. She was the one trying to call in before.
Yes.
And you know what her concern is? When are we returning to open meetings? A lot of the towns have gone back to open meetings, and I know we're investigating the possibility of hybrid meetings because there are some benefits to the Zoom aspects of the meetings. And is there any thought to getting back sooner than later? And also, but I think it is important to explore the hybrid because we have a lot of people who are still a little bit on the fence about returning to public life. But I think I think it would be nice if we did explore what other towns are going to go to that hybrid format.
Also, I found some people in the past few weeks that they were telling me a lot of things that they want to express to the council. And I asked them to join Zoom. And some of them told me, no, I can't handle that. I'm waiting for the meetings to be in person because I want to go there in person. And even one of them said, I want to see your faces.
So we have been exploring the hybrid meetings with our audiovisual company. There's a little bit of a delay because I think he was away on his honeymoon. So he just returned and we've been working with him. I will tell you other towns have tried hybrid meetings without being thoughtful about technology, and there was a lot of feedback and interference, and it didn't work very well. So I want to make sure that we don't sort of jump in without really understanding all of the technology and equipment that might be necessary. We're still working on that.
So let me ask a question of the council. Are we better off broadcasting the meetings as we did in the past? You know, we used to have live broadcasts of the Tuesday meetings. people could watch them online, or in the past, even watch them on our cable TV station, public access TV. And the people who want to participate or ask questions can come to the meetings. Do you think we're at a stage where we're better off letting the people that want to participate in the meetings? We never had, well, we do sometimes when we have a topic that attracts a crowd, but usually there's not a crowd, so there still has social distancing in our council chambers. Are we better off going to a live meeting with broadcasting? Because as you saw tonight, we don't have a lot of questions coming from the public. So do you think it's time to come back with broadcasting, either live or online, and letting people know that vehicles of being informed is still out there, but it's going to be limited to participation, and those who want to participate come to council chambers?
Well, Councilman, just to clarify, in our prior setup before COVID, we recorded the meetings and they were broadcast afterwards. They were not, we don't have the capability to broadcast live during the council meeting as of right now. Okay. They're typically recorded and they're shown, I think, Friday nights on cable.
Yeah.
And then I'm not sure when they're shown on FiOS.
I don't think that's actually a big factor, because people can still watch it and you can't participate. So when you watch it is
correct
left to you.
There is one method, it's called live stream. The company is called live stream, in which it can be broadcast live to computers. That they just need to enter into the link of live stream. It will be live. And maybe we can take comments or questions via phone. It's an idea, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a question also. How many people would be allowed to actually go into chambers to, what would the capacity be? Is there a mask mandate while they're in there? Because, you can't ask someone to show proof that they've been vaccinated. So yeah.
I apologize if I didn't mean to cut you off. The current rules, there's no indoor capacity limits anymore. Right before Memorial Day, and Vish, correct me if I'm wrong, the governor lifted all of the mandates for social distancing. All of the indoor capacity limits were lifted. The mask mandate is really, unless you're vaccinated, you're strongly encouraged to wear a mask. Town Hall, as of right now, has a requirement to wear a mask, but we are we're going to be revising that policy in the next couple of days. So there's no policy limit necessarily to occupying Town Hall, but I still think that there may be some members of the public who may still be, nervous or reluctant to be, in an enclosed environment, during a public meeting. I certainly can't speak to those individual concerns, but there's no state rule anymore since the governor lifted all of the restrictions.
Yeah. Town Hall is open. I recommend we go back to public meetings, open meetings.
I will leave that to the governing body.
I guess I would suggest that we go through the one meeting in July and one meeting in August, and then start up the regular meetings in September. I feel that it's important to give as many people the opportunity to get vaccinated as they want to before we come back. But that's just my vote. Essentially, I'm willing to accept if a majority of of council members have a different feeling. I'm willing to go along with that.
Toshiba,
you're mute.
I agree as well. I think we should try to roll, back into the actual council chambers in September with our first September meeting. I mean, that's when schools are going back, fully in person. And to your point, Councilman, I mean, there are, other opportunities with Town Hall and partnerships with the medical facilities that are going to be facilitating the, vaccinations, this month, and there are other organizations that have been very instrumental within the community trying to get members of the public vaccinated. So I think it just kind of gives us a little bit more time for everybody to get to that comfort level where they're comfortable in being in an enclosed area. If there's no limit capacities now.
Crush capacity.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, if there's no other thoughts on that, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Hi,
Good
guys.
night, everyone.